Hello again, you wonderful people. Just to say, I've re-recorded all the podcasts now, so they're of much better quality. So if you want to go back and listen to some things that are in much better quality, then you can go back and listen to them in a better quality, because I bought a posh microphone and everything. If you would like to do anything like follow links and stuff, there are some in the description. There's a Facebook group, and I'm on Twitter, and I'm on all these places and stuff. So if you want to chat with me and things and give me ideas of new stories, because I'm running out, only joking, or am I? Then please go down to there and have a look at those. Apart from that, we're going to carry on. So today's session is called Ballerina. As you know, well, you probably know by now, I am a patron of the arts. I have a great interest in beautiful things, and as beauty is in the eye of the beholder, that means I have an interest in the things that I find beautiful. The werewolf part of me, my posit wolf soul Fen, has to put up with this bit of me really. He doesn't seem to mind it too much though. I think we see beauty in certain things as a pair. We both love how, the sunlight plays like a dappled effect across the surface of a gentle running brook in the Highlands, and we also enjoy the indignant and discordant screams of an eviscerated child in the street. Beautiful. I have been in love with ballet for a very long time. Fen hasn't. You may have many ideas about why I have a fascination for ballet, but the reasons are, well, many and confusing and confounding. Initially, it was the eye candy. I have to admit it. The ballet scene is full of hot young things that look hot and are athletic and hot. And did I mention hot? The girls are petite and easy to throw around, and the boys are, well, petite and easy to throw around, and they have these huge cod pieces that often make them look a lot more gifted than they actually are in those tighty tights they wear. So you might be asking, how did this working class werewolf become aware of ballet? I mean, it's not a thing for the likes of myself really. I'd never met it before, but it came about due to chance, as these things often do. I was in my 30s when I first discovered this wonderful place. I was making my way through Manchester on one of my exploring days. I was young, dumb, and on the search to unload some fun. Yes, I know, not the proper way to do things, but at the time I was a very horny, hungry wolf and would often be on the hunt for sex, as much as on the hunt for fun and food. In fact, in the best situations, the three would often find themselves to be an excellent combination, in the right person. Or persons, if I was lucky. Even back then I was a slut for many things, and one of them was pretty history, such as Art Deco architecture and furniture. This era had design values that were created for the opulent and self-serving, and, well, really it was camp and kitsch, and I have a fascination for all the things above. I'd wandered down Oxford Street in Manchester. This is a bustling part of the city and is often full of the bright young things that call themselves students and pretend to study things while they spend their time really doing all the things they've been warned not to do by their families. This could often be the best place to pick up the young and naive, and as I've said before, students are often 10 a penny these days, so they're not missed until it's too late. They also tend to be poorer and easily impressed by wealth, which I'm not ashamed to say I have ubiquitous amounts of. Going down the street, I was suddenly distracted. My ruggedly handsome jaw dropped. She was gorgeous. Her lines were distinct and smooth. She was built with the expression of beauty and strength in mind. She was the Art Deco behemoth that is the dance house. Now, this is the point where the listener may want to scroll a little forward to the killing and the maiming, in which they may be more intrinsically interested. For those people, this may seem like some inane, boring shite that I will comment on here, but for those with a little more time to spend on the story's foreplay, as we say, let me spew forth a monologue for you. Get the juices flowing, as it were. The Dance House Theatre is an iconic 1930s building. It is beautiful both in and out and was designed by Pendleton and Dixon. Yeah, that Pendleton and Dixon. See, I knew that I could impress you with the architecture. For those who don't know who the fuck they are, that's okay. I'm hopefully going to aid you a little in your architectural education. Why is this building so impressive, you may ask? Well, you might not, because you might have switched off because I'm wobbling shite. But this was, believe it or not, the first multiplex cinema. Yes, the first multiplex cinema ever. The first one in the world. Now you get it. Exciting shit, yeah? See, America always does things bigger and better, but this Mancunian building did it first. It only had 2 screens, but it was the first of its kind. Are you not entertained? Oh, wait. It gets significantly bigger and better because in 1972, 5 years before Star Wars A New Hope, the cinema was transformed into a 5-screen multiplex. I know, amazing. What do you mean you're bored? I'm educating you here. Sadly, and probably due to the VHS cassette, the place went out of business in 1980. Hey, but don't panic. I can feel you getting distressed at the loss of this amazing building. It didn't happen. It was saved when the lease was bought in 1990 and the neglected old lady was converted into the Northern Dance School, full of fresh, hot, innocent young things for me to play with, but in a single container. It was like giving a fox a poorly protected hen house. Anyway, back to the story nonsense. Now you have the background. The building had been distracting with its proportions and perfect lines, but when the doors opened, a wonderfying cornucopia of even more thrilling creatures left the alluring building. Both Fen and I perked up as another part of our shared brain was sparkled into action at the delicious sight. We both appreciated delicate flesh, and this was the finest flesh available in the locality. We'd been upgraded from getting our meat in a low-end supermarket where meat is taken from the least healthy animals to getting this grass-fed, organic, fresh from the farm or high-end butcher shop. I can almost guarantee that this meat was grass-fed. They were young and female and definitely vegans. They were protecting the poor animals. Organic vegans. Orgasmic for feeding. Tasty. Fuck me, these things look good. Each of them was a facsimile of the others. All were sweaty and bunded up. What do I mean by that? Well, all of them seemed to have what was a regimented hairstyle. A tight bun was on top of every head. Another shock was that there was no man in the mix, just a gaggle of giggling girls, all making their way seemingly to somewhere very important, wrapped in overly big sportswear, Uggs, and those like woolly things that go over their shoes and legs. What are they called? That's it, leg warmers. Fen and I now had another thing to take up our time. This was the start of today's hunt. As in the wild, the key was to select the weakest of the group, the straggler, the injured, the tired, the hottest. Yeah, I know hotness is not a weakness in nature, but at my age, in this particular story, it was a weakness I selected for when hunting. I treated the buns of the dancers much like the signals we see in the wild creatures as they herd. Deer, rabbits and hares have bright white tails that they flash as they move to show off that they're pretty fit and that it would be a massive waste of energy trying to catch them. By doing this, they're basically saying go after one of the others that is not as flashy. So I ignored the quickly moving bobbing buns looking for the forlorn and the unflashy, slower bobbing bun that would signify weakness in the herd. They were all little clones, and I mean little. There was not a single one over 5'5". That's 165 centimetres for you metric people. And they were all really slim. When I say slim, I differentiate at this point from thin or skinny. Thin is emaciated, a loss of musculature and any other body tissue. These guys had amazing musculature, honed by hours of dancing. You could just tell. I like a slim, athletic frame on a person, so this sparked my interest that in Manchester there was a site for me to choose from a number of the same models, and there were so many. I could go into the history of why ballerinas are so short, but having gone into the architecture of, for more than one paragraph, I think I might lose my last listener. But if you're interested in that, look up a dancer called Marie Camargo in the 18th century. It's all her fault. In ballet, their physique is their instrument. Also, they spend hours a day with others with the exact same physique and spend further hours dancing around in front of mirrors in tight clothing, being aware of their physique. So are all, and I mean all, body dysmorphic. They all think that they are fat and ugly and have massive levels of insecurity about themselves. Oh my goodness, could they be any easier to target if they tried? Oh my gosh. Anyway, sorry. My interest now shifted to the straggler of the crew. She sat on the steps at the theatre door. She was a blonde-bunned clone of all the others that had passed but had not stopped on their travel to another place. She had slipped her shoes off and was rubbing her foot and massaging the arch of that perfect little foot. I watched, somewhat voyeuristically, enjoying the sight before me. She smelt delightful. A young, sweet, sweaty beastie. Fen was as focused as I was. We had the target that we wanted now, and it was time to start to break that creature down. This was my weak and injured. She was the damaged and the stumbling, unable to keep up with the others. I sensed her pain and annoyance at the pain, so I was instantly on her. The bun was not being held high. This was my prey for today. She had already separated herself from the cohort of clones and was ripe for the take. I wandered up to her with my hands deep in my pockets, carefully considering the building before me. She lit a cigarette and drew on it hungrily as she rubbed her foot. I noticed the thin white cotton sock covering that tiny foot was stained with blood. Fresh blood. My favourite smell. Both Fen and I inhaled deep the exotic odour, which overpowered the stink of the cigarette that she sucked. Fen rose inside my mind, wanting to transform and feed. I salivated at the promise of fresh meat and a kill. As a werewolf, this sensation is beyond any simple feeling, such as I would now get the prey engaged with the predator to either spook it to a run or freeze it for a quick kill. Unlike in nature, this would not be done with a simple dash. It would be with the application of small talk, a gentle start on the path to developing rapport that I could then use to prey upon her. Wow, isn't she beautiful? I announced to her. Fen, my posit at this point, started giggling. Her or the building flowed into my head. The girl either ignored me or did not hear. She seemed wholly focused on the damaged foot. It was the centre of this girl's world, and I could sense the discomfort and above all the mental distress. She was not paying any attention to the possible dangers around her. This was perfect for me to do my wolfy magic. I said, isn't she beautiful? I repeated at her at a great volume. Okay. I was ignoring you, but in the hope that you would go away if I did, but okay, I'll bite. What's the line? She smiled at me, looking up with amber eyes and a look of bemusement. She still rubbed her foot, and I concluded that this procedure was much more important than the conversation that we were having at this moment in time. A line? I questioned. Oh, right. No line, I'm afraid. I hate to disappoint, but I am a fan of 1930s architecture, and in being such a fan, can appreciate this fine building. The girl laughed, blowing a long stream of smoke away from me before returning to regard her foot. The cigarette never left her mouth. Of course you are. Tell me more about the interest you have in buildings. Well, I said as though unflattered by her reply. This is an amazing part of Art Deco design. Pendleton and Dixon designed it. I told her this and paused. I was pretending to wait for this exciting piece of information to sink in. You don't know Pendleton and Dixon? I asked. Nope. Sounds like some shit 80s detective show with a posh cop and an unwanted working class partnership together against the world, she said. She continued the conversation while rubbing her foot. Please tell me more about this amazingly wonderful building which is the venue for my daily humiliation and pain. I acted like she'd hurt my feelings. It's okay. You're obviously not interested. I'm sorry to have bothered you. I mean, I didn't realise I was being rude. I was just exuberantly trying to express my excitement. You see, I'm an architect by trade, and this is a bit of a busman's holiday. Seeing these beautiful sights firsthand is very inspiring. I'm sure you wouldn't understand, though, and especially the relevance of what I'm saying. At this, she turned her head and stopped everything to focus on me. It was a thrill. I have to admit, her gaze was delightful, and she paused for some time. Who the fuck speaks like that? She asked. Exuberantly express excitement. Exuberantly express excitement, she mimicked with a giggle at the end. Usually, no. I wanted to swap a bit of banter with this creature. It was trying to be clever. It would learn. Well, someone would speak like that, who has a vocabulary and reads a little bit maybe. You should try it. I mean, reading, that is. I could recommend some good entry-level literature for you. Where's Spot? By Eric Hill might be a good point to start. Only 22 pages, so that won't be overawed, and the pictures are very nice, and it's also about a little doggy called Spot. I managed to get so patronising at the end of the sentence that I managed to kind of hurt my own feelings. And then it's followed by classics such as Spot's First Walk. Throughout my little manipulative outburst, she surveyed me appreciatively. I was being studied for red flags. Sadly for her, my red flags were invisible. You know what? I actually felt sorry for you that your foot was bleeding, but now I leaned forward and playfully made eye contact. She smiled and held out the hand with which she had been rubbing her foot. I looked at it as though it was the most filthy item I had ever seen. She noticed this and swapped her cigarette to her other hand before offering the cleaner one of the two. Okay, you win. My name's Anna Waincroft. Pleased to make your very unlaconic self. I shook her hand and offered my name. I am Will. Will the Wordsmith, if I am to believe that your real name is fucking Anna Waincroft. She smiled and laughed. I could see her thinking. Well, actually my non-stage moniker is Kim Badger. Obviously not the name of a famous ballerina though, eh? I cannot see myself as Dame Kim Badger in 30 years, while Dame Waincroft rolls right off the tongue. I smiled back. I see. Let me guess then, you're a bit of a nerdy geek as well as a ballerina. She nodded. I will allow you to continue. She was super expressive with her hands. It must have been all that dance training she did. Wayne from Bruce Wayne, Batman, and Croft from Lara Croft, Tomb Raider by any chance? Well done. No one else has ever been sad enough to know those things, she said. I don't get Anna, though, I queried. Ah, you see, that is a bit where I was being clever. You may have noticed that ballerinas are very similar and that we're just one anonymous face in a crowd of perfect copies. Anna was a play on the anonymous. Now tell me how clever I was to make me feel better about my shit life choices. She got back to rubbing her foot and smoking her cigarette. Well, I would tell you that you were clever if I truly thought you were being such, but to be honest, Anna for anonymous is a bit of a stretch. She invited me to sit as she returned to her foot and began to redress it. She replaced the sheepskin Ugg that had once covered it. She stubbed out her cigarette and pointed at the cafe just down the road. At this point, Will the wordsmith, you get to buy me coffee. I hope you realise how lucky you are and that you do not regret your love of Art Deco architecture at the end of that coffee, she told me. The conversation in the cafe went well. She was a covert narcissist who only really wanted to talk about herself and the difficulties that she had in life. All I had to do from my side of the conversation was to nod and look like I was concerned or doing that, what's it called, empathizing thing that humans do. I learnt that she was a bulimic ballet dancing prodigy, that she shared a flat with 3 other bulimic ballet dancing prodigies. After offering her some food, I found out she did not eat food. She survived mainly on coffee and nicotine. When she did eat, it would often be a lone apple a day, and to get rid of the hunger pangs, she often felt that she would eat tons of tissue paper. Wet tissue paper. Yet, doing this, she somehow managed to dance for 8 hours a day and in her eyes get fat. Mad. It was an education into a fucked up self-centric mind. She loved herself deeply in a genuinely nihilistic, destructive manner. I learnt that point shoes were expensive and that her feet were totally fecked up from those hours of dancing in them. I learnt quite a lot. After an hour of chatting with her, I had only supplied her with my name and the fact that I prefer flat white coffees. I also enjoyed putting her through the hell of eating a bacon sandwich in front of her, overly appreciating how good it was to drive her just a little bit madder. This was a benign torture, but a worthy one. Then she somehow changed tacks, and life became more interesting. She started inventing what I was. She liked older men who could be strict with her. Oh yes, I love this sex positivity thing of the moment. She was a sexual submissive with daddy issues. Wonderful. Call me daddy. I smiled and shoehorned my way into the conversation. Now I had an angle to finish the hunt and get this tasty morsel all to myself. Oh, I know. Not such a great cliffhanger there to stop on, but think about it. The next episode might describe the hours of kinky sex I had with her. It might, maybe not, but it just might. Thanks for listening, you wonderful people.